Hello and welcome to season three of the podcast, episode 1. Before we get going, we've got a new member, so let's all say hello to Sam Bowes. Hello, Sam.
Hi guys.
Hello, Sam Bowes.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome, mate. You're more than welcome. I think Sam's going to bring a bit of culture and intelligence to the conversation.
Well, he didn't in Scotland.
Well, that's what the contract says.
I don't know what you think's changed between now and then.
It says Sam Bowes, culture and what did I even say? I can't remember now. Culture and intelligence specialist.
That's Hannah. You've got the wrong one.
Oh, we got the wrong one.
Oh, can you switch? You don't get her.
Yeah, hang on.
We'll wait. We've only been waiting 20 minutes so far.
Yeah, why have we been waiting 20 minutes? That was for you.
My internet went down. What can I say? I don't know. What can I say? My internet went down. Anyway, what have we been up to? Oh, hang on a sec. Before we go any further, we need to say that Dave and Paul are not here. Paul's not very well, so get well soon, Paul. I don't think it's anything too serious.
Get well soon, mate.
Mm-hmm. And Dave will be back next week, and hopefully Paul as well. So it's just the 4 of us this week. Sorry about that.
And we're using some new software, Gary, aren't we? So do you want to just explain it? It might look different to the viewers. Hopefully it should be better, but
yeah. So essentially, what we're doing is we're using a different.
He don't change, does he? Look, it's gone already.
Yeah, I know.
He don't change.
No. So essentially, we're using a different software to Zoom, which should result in a higher quality video feed and a higher quality audio. So hopefully, everything will look a lot better. And
Content's still shit.
Yeah.
It's just that you can see the wrinkles that much better now.
It was really good for that little moment when you'd gone, and now you've come back.
It's really, that light was really bright. Sorry.
All we need now is Jamie's messaging to go off, and then we've got full house.
You know what?
So
I better turn it off, don't I? Because you don't like that, do you?
Yes.
That upsets you.
anyway, shall we crack on with the podcast? How's everyone been? How have we all been since we last recorded, which was quite a while back now?
Take it away, Sam. Go on. What you been up to, mate?
Yeah, well, I was going to say I wasn't there last time you recorded, but I guess I was, wasn't I?
Yes,
it was
it was the Scottish live one, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I'm doing well. It's been a very quiet summer for me with regards to photography. I've not had a chance to get out much. It's been kind of hectic just trying to do the house renovation, which is going well, but that's come at the expense of actually being able to get out and do much photography. And to be honest, as I'm sure you guys are the same, for me, summer and photography is always a bit of a struggle. I try, but I always get dissatisfied with the images. It's just all the I've done a couple of mountain trips actually where I've gone out and I've come back with images that I've just not been inspired by, and I think it's just because the mountains are so green. And I know everyone always says that, but it really is just I'm not happy with the images, and so I decided to sort of focus more on house renovation over the summer, and now things are starting to get really good again. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to do more photography now. I did a scouting mission this morning actually, and checked out a nice local waterfall. So hopefully there'll be more kind of content coming up soon.
Don't you just hate it when I popped out this morning, a nice local waterfall. I just had a look at it. Yeah, it's one of several in my vicinity that I just thought I'd go and have a look at. Christ.
I popped out a little local ditch. It was a really straight ditch full of ducks. Gorgeous it was. I won't photograph it though.
I've been scouting, believe it or not, on my way to drop my daughter off to school, and I'm thinking there's some quite nice trees along this roadside. I'm the only one who's putting out videos at the moment as well. What's that all about?
And you're the only one that quit as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm the one who threw my toys out the pram, and yet I'm the only one who's putting videos out at the moment.
Perhaps we should all quit, and then we'll come back with a bang. Yeah, but you are no, joking aside, Gary, you are putting out quite a lot of content actually, especially with your little chats as well. You know, you've gone on your own now. You've gone big time. You've dropped the Pubcast.
Oh
know.
yeah,
And,
yeah, big time.
You know, you're.
Speaking of which, are you recording the video this time, Gary?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Yeah.
I am actually recording the video. Yeah, another one of the beauties of Zoom that I'm not going to miss is the fact that I had that whole conversation with Dave and got to the end of it and went, "Oh Christ, I haven't recorded it. Didn't press record." And it was only because we were recording the audio separately that we got anything out of it at all. But yeah, no, I listen. My first love is always you guys, and I'm not exactly interviewing like, you know, massive names, am I? I'm trying to interview the smaller channels. So
That's really upset everybody that's now come on your snapshots.
no, I think they'll all appreciate other than Dave, they'll all appreciate they're quite small channels, and the reason I want to talk to them is because I think more people should be watching them, you know, rather than just going and watching the big boys all the time, you know. So yeah, but at least I'm putting some stuff out, unlike you guys.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm losing a little bit of motivation with that, really, a bit like you were, but I'll get back into it. It's just, I don't know, I think we talked about this before, the views at the moment, and whether it's summer or whether it's just the, you know, mass of landscape photography channels now on YouTube, and it gets diluted, I don't know, but the views have been really low, and it gets a little bit disheartening in a way, doesn't it, when you put a lot of effort into creating a video and you put it out there and you don't get that many views. You get the regular comments, which is great, and it's always good to, you know, get your regular commenters, but when you're getting low views and lowish engagement, you think, is it really worth it? And I must admit, I've been out a couple of times recently, just local, and not taking the video camera, and I've loved it. I've just loved that freedom of just not having to think about videoing, just getting there, concentrating on the shots, coming back within a short space of time as well, because generally speaking, if you're doing a video, you try and string it out to make sure you've got enough shots to bulk the video up, and I'm not doing any of that. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying that freedom, but I will get back into it, but I don't know I'm going to have a lot of regular content as much as I used to. It will be hopefully when I can get something that I feels worthwhile sharing and putting out, I'll put it out.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I always feel sort of torn. I don't know whether you guys get the same thing, but I sort of, sometimes I start to get stressed and disappointed, and I don't enjoy it if I'm forcing myself to put out too much content. And, you know, there's been times where I've tried to do weekly videos in the past, and particularly when I was working full time, it was you know, so much work, and you spend your whole weekend on it, and I kind of got to the point where, you know, I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to force myself to do it, because ultimately no one really seemed to care if I was putting a video out every week, apart from the algorithm. And I decided, well, it's not worth beating myself up over. So if I miss a week, then I won't worry about it. But then when it gets to the stage like now, where it's been 3 months since I last put a video out, I start to get stressed about not putting videos out. Not because I'm worried about the YouTube channel as such, but more that I'm worried about people just forgetting about the content. And so I'm always kind of have this kind of, I think there must be a happy balance somewhere of, you know, maybe once every couple of weeks or once every few weeks, or, you know, it's always nice when you've recorded a few that you're sitting on, and you know that, well, I might not publish one this week, but I might publish it next week. But I do start to get a bit stressed now when it's been so long since I put a video out. And I do actually have videos which I've recorded and not put out, but I've been too busy to work on them. So.
Well, I think you've got to enjoy putting the videos out, because if you don't, then there's just no point in doing it. You know, none of us are going to kind of earn a living from it. So putting videos out when, you know, channels are kind of our size, you've got to do it because for the love of doing it, you know. And at the moment, for me, you know, and for you guys as well, primarily we're all photographers, you know, and that's my enjoyment. I mean, my enjoyment was the photography and the videos, but like Jamie, just recently, I mean, well, I say just recently, probably the last year, in all fairness, I've just been really enjoying, you know, the photography so much more than making the videos, and they are so time consuming. What you guys have just said, you know, you kind of spend a day pretty much kind of out with the camera, and then the video camera, and then you come back, and then you have to process all the photos to get them all ready. and then obviously then you've got to sort out all the video, and you could quite easily spend your whole weekend and a couple of hours during the week after work just putting one 10-minute video out. You know, it's a lot of work that goes into it, and if you do lose that passion, it will show in the content that you're putting out anyway.
Definitely.
So if you're not feeling it, don't stress over it.
Yeah. No, and I think there's only so many times as well that you can go, oh, I had a failure here, because sometimes you can put your fails out, and you can kind of get away with because you want to show the side of I've had a bad day, because you don't want to come across someone like, oh, all my photos are amazing and I'm just amazing. But there's only so many times you can go, or nightmare at so and so, failure at here, I've been an idiot here. Well, actually, I don't know, I haven't reached that limit yet, but I think there must be a limit at some point where there's only so many that you can do. But I don't know about you guys. I do videos in fits and spurts, so it's like I'll go quite a while where I'm like, I haven't been out for a few weeks, or apart from the one in Wales, I haven't been out really. But I know that in a couple of weeks' time, I'll go here, and here, and I'll get that mojo back, and then I'll start doing it in fits and spurts, and sort of like, I don't know.
See, I said to you before, just recently I've just discovered Titchwell, and what I might do is I might make a video over at Titchwell, the RSPB Nature Reserve. But what I'm thinking about doing is going over there perhaps half a dozen times and building up a collection of photos from previous trips, because then making the video will be so much easier, because then I can actually say, over here they've got these kind of birds and I photograph them here or something like that, and the photos can come up. But when you're trying to vlog and then hoping a bird is going to kind of land exactly where you want it to land, it's really difficult. So I think, for me, my future vlogs, and I've mentioned this to you guys kind of off of the Pubcast, that I think that's when I go back to vlogging, and it'll be them style of videos where I've already got like a collection of photos in the bank, and then go out and make the video. Unless we're in somewhere kind of like the Lake District, and we're out for the day, or a couple of days, that's fine. I might do one then, but certainly wildlife, I think that's the format that I'm going to go in the future.
I think that's the format you have to go with wildlife anyway. I mean, I've done a few wildlife videos in the past, and you just can't do the normal vlogging thing if you're trying to photograph wildlife, because you have to be quiet and you have to be still. So it requires that sort of approach of you can either do it retrospectively, or you can do it in the field but have other images that you can show from previous trips, or at least film yourself doing the photography quietly and then go away and film a bit to camera afterwards.
Talk about it afterwards. Because
wildlife
as well is just one of those where you just don't know if you're going to get anything or not on that day, and they're the ones that I've had the most fails on, really, the wildlife ones.
But it takes so much effort to set up a vlog and start the vlog, that to then not have anything to show for it, you've sort of wasted that time. So you're better off flipping it round and doing it the other way, so that you can go and try and get the images and shoot a bit of B-roll and things whilst you're going if you can, but then only sort of turn it into a vlog once you've got images, maybe.
I mean, I've had some fantastic wildlife videos where the drone work over the marshes and not a single bird.
Well, you scared them off with a drone.
That was
either that or got caught up in the propeller. Diced birds everywhere. Wings and legs everywhere.
Do you think that the decline, if you like, of viewers was anything to do with the fact, or was a reason why there were so few people at the photography show who were anything to do with vlogging? Because we all went. I don't know about you. You went on the Sunday, didn't you, Sam?
Yeah.
There was 3 other people there four who recorded videos, and that was it. And normally,
that we saw.
We saw. Yeah, but normally there's, there's like shooting fish in a barrel going up and finding other photography vloggers. But there was so few there. And when you think us 3 came together, that's it's a really low number. I wonder if that's got anything, whether it was so low because everyone's disenchanted with it a little bit at the moment.
So do you mean it was low in terms of numbers of other landscape photographers on YouTube, or low in terms of just general vloggers?
No, other landscape photographers on YouTube. Normally, it's you see probably every time I've been, I've probably seen 10 or 15, and this time, other than the three of us, I saw 3 others. So it was very low.
I just think it's just the way the whole community has matured over the last few years, and how people have gone different ways and different directions, and have probably lost a bit of interest as well. A lot of the old Paul, for instance, Paul Johnson, he used to put out a lot of content. He doesn't put a lot out now. There's a lot of the original vloggers, apart from the Thomas Heatons and the Simon Baxters and people like that are still putting regular content out. A lot of those don't put a lot of content out. And a lot of, in those early days of going to the show, it was a community event. People turned up there to meet each other and to sort of have a chat, and, rather than going up there to spend money. And I think that whole culture's changed. People have just gone in different directions. And that happens in life, doesn't it? You got a massive group of friends that all go out, and then all of a sudden their own lifestyles change. They go separate ways. I think that's just what it is. I think people sort of tend to merge into their own little groups, I guess, like we have, I suppose, and there's other little groups. So
but it could be as well that, like when Tom kind of almost ignited this on YouTube, there might have been a lot of photographers that wasn't photographers previously thought, actually, I'll have a go at that, or there might have been photographers that hadn't got their camera out for a long time and think, oh, well, you know what, I'm gonna blow the dust off the camera, and I'm going to give this a go. And possibly just the way that they're kind of like us, when we're thinking, oh, we're not putting out as much videos anymore, it might be for them that perhaps they haven't hit the numbers that they thought they was, and then their photography is kind of waned as well, thinking, oh, I ain't got the motivation to go out with the camera at the moment. But you're right, Gal, I mean, 3 years ago there was loads of photographers that you would recognise from YouTube, and as you said, there was hardly anybody there this year. So that was
even worse, there was hardly anyone there who recognised me.
Oh, come on. We hadn't even got into the place, and you'd got somebody come and said, there was. They were coming out with autographed books and everything before we even walked into the place.
Did you enjoy the show, though? I mean, joking aside, did everyone enjoy the show? Did they get out of it what you wanted to get out of it?
I mean, when I went, I was absolutely knackered because I'd been camping the night before, and so I kind of stumbled around it a bit like a zombie. But I don't know. It was. I didn't really go to any of the talks apart from Julian Baird's talk. And in previous years I've gone mainly because of the talks, I guess, or certainly the first year I went was mainly because of the talks, because I didn't know anyone else, and then in years afterwards I was going to meet friends. And this year it was really just to go and see Julian and look at camera bags, and we didn't find a camera bag. So it was, I didn't enjoy it this year as much as I've enjoyed it previous years, but that was probably largely because I was half dead.
Well, I feel like my trip was a total failure because I spent the whole time trying to get Jamie to buy a Canon R5 and to get Daz to buy a 600mm f4 Sony Prime, and neither of them would buckle. I mean, I was chatting up the people behind the counter at Wex and all sorts, trying to get discounts, and at one point I thought I might get some commission. But no, it didn't work, did it?
It wasn't just Daz's 600mm. You tried to get him onto an Olympus OM1 or whatever.
I did, yes, I did.
Yeah. You really tried to spend my kid's inheritance that last weekend. You did.
Well, if you can't spend any money yourself, the next best thing is to spend it vicariously through others. So,
I'm glad you failed, though, I must admit. Otherwise, it might have been a bit damaging for me at home if I'd have come back with an R5. Really.
Do you know what, though, right? Just joking aside, because there was a lot of stuff that was 25% off. And for a split second, when we all stood at the Sony stand, and you said, like, what is the price of the F4 600 Prime? If they said, I actually thought this in my mind when she was looking through the thing, I thought, if she says there's 25% off, I'm going to get it. whether I would have done, but there was a split second where I thought, if she says that, I'm going to get this and sod it when I get home. Then I'll pay for the consequences afterwards. But when she said no, there's no discount, or that's a special order, I did think, oh, that's a bit of a relief.
Thank God. No, I'll tell you, when you were at the stand and you said, oh, I've got a Sony A1, Christ, they couldn't get the ambassadors out quick enough.
No, exactly.
No.
Like the Ferrero Rocher was out, the champagne.
They was throwing rose petals in front of me when I walked round. Yeah.
They probably thought, oh, this guy's got some cash. Look at him, he's the one who's bought the A1.
Well, there you go. You see, that's why the guys, obviously, people watching the Pubcast don't know. I was a little bit late tonight because I'm starting to fit a new kitchen at home and a utility room. So I was bringing some stuff home tonight in my van for the utility room. And
is that the East Wing kitchen?
And I did say that, you know, if I came home with a big 600mm prime before that kitchen was fitted, then it would be grounds for divorce, actually. So I'm thinking, right, let's get the kitchen fitted, and then I can sneak the lens in.
Well, you'd have nowhere to put it, would you? Because the servants' quarters are being used for the workmen at the moment, aren't they? So
stop it.
Wow.
Anyway, talking about servants' quarters and royalty, we should mention the Queen.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, yes.
Bless her.
We should.
Bless her. What do you reckon of it all? The the monarchy and the turnout. Go on, Gal.
I said to Beth that we should. I know that there's a lot of Republicans out there and a lot of people who think that the monarchy shouldn't be in place, but we should never change. That is like hundreds of years of history, and no one can do it like we can. And it's almost who we are. Definitely. It's who we are as a nation, and we shouldn't change that. No, you know.
There's a lot of comments from people overseas that I've heard of them saying this is what makes the UK.
Yeah.
You know, other countries don't have this, and I think a lot of the time we take it for granted, particularly because we won't have known another monarch, so she's always been there, and we won't have seen that sort of that changeover, as it were, other than reading it in history books. And whenever I've read about these things in history books, you sort of think, oh, I wonder what it would be like to be there at that time. And so for me, watching some of those sort of scenes, it was just that sense of this is history. This is going to be
absolutely.
And I think that's the thing. You know, I mean, when you look at the people that were lining the streets, you know, from Scotland down to London, and then all of the towns scattered across and cities scattered across the UK, watching it on the screens, watching it on their TV. You know, there was like hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, obviously, typically British, the queue to get to Westminster Abbey, you know, that got its own press. But I think that's almost confirmation of how popular, you know, the monarchy is. And I don't know how they verify this, but they were saying that something like 4 billion people watched.
Yeah. That's, I heard, I think. I think it was 6 billion. I think I heard
I heard
huge percentage of the world's population were watching it.
Yeah, I heard 4 billion, but you know, even so, you know, that's how huge that was actually, and I totally agree. You know, I think we should keep it.
They obviously had years, I guess, to plan for that day, didn't they? But you could tell the amount of preparation that had gone into it, and everything went like clockwork.
Yeah,
and it was on the world stage, so I guess it needed to be. But it was, you know, it's difficult to call it an orchestrated event, but it was, wasn't it? Everything was planned. Everything.
I think it was, Jay, because they was again. You know, I hear snippets, and you know, I can't quote anyone in particular, but you know, you hear snippets, and I reckon they've been planning that like for 20 years.
Oh yeah,
You know.
I said to Beth when we were watching it, you know, when the cannons were going off at the same time as the bell of Big Ben.
Yeah.
And I said to Beth, I said, that is done with absolute military precision. And she said, yes, the military who were doing it. And I was like, that's a good point, actually. It's probably where the phrase comes from.
Yeah. But they had people actually in the tower of Big Ben behind the minute, whatever you call it, hand.
Really?
Yeah, sort of messaging over for people with a gun over in Hyde Park.
Amazing.
And just coordinating it so we'd go off at exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Emotional day though, wasn't it? Really, it was. You know, you couldn't help but get wrapped up in that emotion. You know, even whether you're a royalist or not.
Yeah.
I must admit, you know, when that Piper just disappeared,
that was
that was a bit gulp moment. That really, and her her Little Pony or something? Not My Little Pony, Her Little Pony.
Yes,
at Windsor,
Watching,
you know,
Windsor.
watching on the side. Yeah, it's all little bits like that, and it's like, blimey, it's, you know, you can't help, even though, you know, most people have never met her, but you just can't help feeling, because I suppose, as people were saying, you relate it to personal things that have happened in your life and people you've lost and stuff like that, don't you? So you can't help but get wrapped up with emotion. But yeah, no, I'm not proud to admit that I was choked a few times, definitely.
Yeah, no, agree. And I do see the point of view of Republicans. I understand why they say that a lot of money's being spent and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, that woman gave 70 years of service to the country. You know, I know the rules are spoiled and they have a lot of money and but they don't have a lot of the freedoms that we take for granted.
I know you say they're spoiled. Would you want their life?
No, absolutely not. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't want their life.
Yeah, they don't have those freedoms that we just take for granted. They just can't walk down the street or could do whatever they want. They're born into a life of service.
Oh, not in fact, they couldn't. Joking aside, but they couldn't come on the Pubcast.
I wouldn't have them on.
No.
No. Maybe Harry, but
Who would you have on? Who would you have on the immediate family?
Harry. Yeah, get him drunk and see if he'd do another Hitler impersonation. That'd be.
Sam, who would you have on?
Kate.
Yeah. Jay?
William, I like him. I've met him once. He was all right. Yeah.
Oh, he said hello to you.
Yeah.
As he was cycling off.
He didn't even do that. He just waved. Get that camera out of my face.
Does that count as meeting?
Yeah, I was in close proximity, and there wasn't any other people around apart from me and
I've been
Kate
to
and his
London
kids.
several times. That doesn't mean I'm familiar with the Queen.
He stopped and said, "What are you doing? You taking photographs?" I said, "Yeah, these trees." He said, "Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they?" We had a real long conversation.
Yeah.
And
My father talks to them, don't you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Daz? Who would you have on?
Oh, I'd have Andrew on. He seems like a giggle. He seems like a nice, down-to-earth bloke.
Oh my god!
Yeah. What have you been up to recently, sausage?
What's your sausage been up to recently? Can we say this? I don't even know if we can get away with all
I
this.
don't know if we can.
No, we're going to say it anyway. We're
Yeah,
going to say it.
we can.
So shall we actually talk about some photography then? You know, since we've been chatting for nearly half an hour now. How about this one? This is yours, Daz, and you actually put a few photos up, which we're obviously not going to share because they're other people's work. But it was is foreground important? And I think what you were saying is there's a lot of photos these days, seem to be more and more, where the foreground becomes the overpowering part of the image, and almost to the detriment of everything else.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's more and more, but I think when you first learn how to take landscape photos, you know, the golden rule is foreground and midground and then background, and I used to do this all the time. You know, straight away I'll be thinking, right, okay, what can I get, you know, to put in the foreground? I must have a foreground here. And then as I kind of got more and more into my landscape photography, I realised that sometimes that just having a rock in the foreground, it can do more harm than good, you know. But I don't want to say this, but I still see a lot of photographers that have been doing it for a long time that still just try and find a rock to put in the foreground. And what is beyond the rock is a beautiful scene. So I just think sometimes I look at I just look at people's photos, mine included at times, and I just think, what the hell is that doing there? Take away that foreground just because people say you've got to have foreground. Get rid of it and them layers, there's a beautiful photo there.
Well, this is the key. You just said the key word there, layers.
Yeah.
That's where, because foreground, let's call it foreground, is important, because even if you take out that rock in the foreground, you've still got foreground, because it's the first layer of the layers. You've got to have you need to have depth in your photo essentially, and the foreground helps to give that perception of depth, doesn't it? But I think some people maybe can't see that that if you've got a set of, say, mountains going off into the distance, well, that's got its own depth, so you don't need to stick a great big rock or whatever, or a log. They're the worst ones. When someone takes a photo of water and they stick a log, they go and find a bit of driftwood and go, right, I'm going to plonk that right at the front. I find those like, what are you doing that for?
It's formulaic, isn't it? And I think maybe part of the issue is, and I do it all the time, and it's because it's habit, and it's, you know, my mindset initially when I'm looking for a composition. Often now, as you say, Darren, you find yourself looking for rocks, but often those rocks aren't actually very interesting, and it's often I'll take the photo and I think, oh yeah, this is good, it's got a rock in the foreground and whatnot, and then you get home to the computer and you look at it and you think it's a really crap rock. Yeah. And it's like, well, it is just that habit and the way that we work, especially sometimes if we're under pressure. I find particularly when recording video, I'm sort of feel like I'm under pressure to find a good composition, and my formulaic habit is often foreground interest. A number of times I say foreground interest in a video, it should be a sin jar for it. And it just becomes that habit. And I think actually to be the sign of a really skilled photographer is someone who can just break those rules, and it's sort of having those rules in the background so that you're aware of them and you can utilize them when there is an interesting foreground, but not being a slave to them. And I know I'm often a slave to them, but it's so hard to break that cycle of actually just thinking, no, I don't need to put a foreground in this image. There's plenty in this scene that it just doesn't warrant a rock or a log in the foreground.
No, I mean, I think the formula works. If you can get all of them components together, then, you know, brilliant. But don't force yourself to get those components together, because if you just, you know, I've seen some, and we're using kind of rocks here, but that's what's kind of annoyed me a little bit, I suppose. Really, it's just these rocks in the foreground. So you know, you see like a tiny little one which doesn't do anything for the image at all. It's just like having a shirt button placed at the bottom of the picture, or this giant rock for the sake of having a giant rock.
Bless you.
Bless you. But it's all right.
I think so.
Yeah, or you have a massive rock at the, you know, in the foreground, and it takes away all the background. I don't know. I just think that foreground, midground, background, it has to work. And if it doesn't work, then remove the foreground and just take a nice scene that's got layers.
This is all about progressing as a photographer, though. Because the first things that you do are you search for whatever, whether you read it in a book or whether you search for it online or whether you go to a workshop, the first things you're going to be told is you need to have depth in your shots. So you want a foreground, a midground, a background. And then eventually, when you've done that enough, you start to think, well, hang on a minute, because there are other shots here. And that's where you progress as a photographer. And I think some people perhaps are in that stage of they haven't progressed yet. And some people get to that bit where photos work for them, and I think it's all about mindset. I think it's just how people's minds work. They get to a stage they go, I love this style of photography, why do I need to change it? I don't need to look for something else. I'm really happy with that. And then it becomes like formulaic. You just go, right, I'm off out. You know, there's a photographer who's really big on YouTube, and his whole mantra is find a background and then go and look for a foreground to match it. And it's like for me, that's photography by numbers. But some people like that. That's they need that. They don't have that sort of mindset, that creative or chaotic mind to go. Look at Mali. Mali's a great example, in my opinion. Okay, he takes shots that other people don't think of because I think he's got like a creative, chaotic mind. So he doesn't go, I need this, I need this, I need that. He just goes and looks and says, right, I'm going to try something different. And that's just, I think that's just how different people work. But then other people are more structured in their photography. And you probably find they're very structured in their lives as well.
I think it also depends on what type of photography you do. I very, very rarely shoot anything with foreground in it because most of my shots are pretty much tighter in. You know, I don't shoot wide angle, I don't shoot big vistas. You know, a lot of my stuff, what I'll tend to do is not necessarily use a foreground, but just have something potentially to frame the bottom of a scene rather than have it as dedicated foreground interest. It's just a frame, and I think that's fine. But I think the biggest cardinal sin, and it's probably the picture that Darren shared that we're not going to share, but it was an overuse of foreground and making it far too dominating in the scene, and it just detracted from, as you said earlier on, which was a nice scene in the background. So it's just you've got to use it sensibly, haven't you? You've got to use it if it adds value, if it adds context, so something in the foreground relates to something in the background potentially, and there's the relationship between foreground and background, and it adds value to the picture, then fine. But if it doesn't, you know, I'm very often tempted just to crop in to a bit that I like in the shot rather than make it wider for the sake of it.
So I was going to say, I wonder also whether it's when people become so reliant on using a wide angle lens, and if you're using a wide angle lens, you need a foreground to make it work, and maybe it was just a reluctance to switch over to a telephoto and change the focal length.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, when we went to Rannoch Moor, and you get down to the side of the locks there, and there's like rocks everywhere, and I certainly was like, right, got to find rocks, find a rock, and it's like when you've come across that many and they're all there, you're like, I've got to use them, and actually the image was messy. My image was messy.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Sorry, that was my doorbell.
Is it pizza?
Not round here it won't be.
I guess it won't be, will it?
Probably a rogue stag or goose or something.
It probably is. It's probably, we get a lot of people with flat tyres around here.
So basically, so going back to what we're saying there, so basically, the rules, if you can obey the rules, great. But if they don't work, then the rules are there to be broken. And
exactly.
And don't be scared by just not having that horrible rock in the foreground just for the sake of having it.
And think of it as your photography progressing, rather than you missing out on a rock.
Well, I think the same things apply for a lot of the other rules as well. So things like rules of thirds as well. I mean, we're always placing things on a third, but actually a lot of the images I like are the ones where someone's intentionally left lots of negative space over horizons right along the bottom, and often those images look amazing because we're so used to everything being on a rule of thirds. And of course, when you're starting out, you stick to those rules a lot, but sometimes you just need to break them.
The old Fibonacci spirals. Anyone ever used a Fibonacci spiral? I don't even know what a Fibonacci spiral is. The golden something or another, isn't it?
Golden ratio, is it?
Yeah, golden ratio. Yeah.
Where this, I think, is prevalent is in, and we talked about this before, is in camera clubs.
Oh, can you pick this up? Look at that. Can you see that? That is a print and a half from Stuart McLennan.
I thought I recognised that.
Yes,
that's a great mail.
That is absolutely beautiful. That. What I think what's missing is a great big rock in front of it. That's all. That's the only thing that spoils this photo. There is no big rock. So Stu, if you're listening, mate, next time if you can stick a rock in there for me, I'll be over the moon.
Herd them a bit further. Get them up I can.
Oh, mate, I am chuffed to bits with this photo. I really am. That is a thing of beauty. That is. Cheers, Stu. Thank you very much, mate.
Little advert there for Stuart. We all love Stuart, so go watch his stuff and buy things from him because he's a very lovely bloke.
Yeah, he is. Good guy.
Indeed.
Yeah. What were you saying, Jamie? About
I was going to say it's where this is prevalent in camera clubs, and this is really interesting because this week we had in our village. There's a camera club that I'm not a member of, but I also help run a photography group for the village, and they wanted to do a bit of a battle in terms of the photography group versus the camera club. So some of the guys on the Facebook group put some pictures in. I selected them and sent them in to be judged, and the results came out. And a lot of the pictures that I put forward that I personally thought were really well taken pictures didn't score well with the judge, and there was 2 landscape shots that he selected in the top 5, and they were perfect in their composition. So they had exactly what you just saying. They had foreground, they had midground, they had background. You know, there wasn't any dramatic light, there was nothing really, there was no atmosphere in the shots, but technically they were pretty well spot on. And I think that's when it comes to camera clubs and competitions and things like that, then I guess that's where the rules make a little bit more sense, because, well, not more sense, but add more value to the shot. If you want to win a competition in a camera club, then you probably do need to be more technically perfect rather than more creative and using things that we would look for, such as light and atmosphere and stuff like that.
You go to a camera club, right? And when there's a judge on, you go and have a look at the judge's website. Because I guarantee to you, sorry to people that are judges at camera clubs, their photography is usually pretty average at best. And then you sit there and you put your stuff through it and you're listening to them, and it's like they'll go, yeah, well, I think this one was taken in the morning, no, it was the evening. Or I think that they've intentionally no, I didn't. Is that a little bit of camera movement? No, I didn't do that either. Have they done a multiple exposure? No, shut up. It's like they don't really know, a lot of them, what they're talking about. Honestly, sorry, they don't.
But it's I don't mean this as anything, you know, derogatory about camera clubs per se, but it's that sort of approach to critiquing photography that actually really annoys me, because, you know, for me, photography should be about how the images make you feel. And like
Absolutely.
I to be honest, couldn't care less if it's technically perfect. I don't care if it's that sharp, even. Like, you know, if it's bad and you notice it, then fine. But I'm quite happy to look at a blurred out of focus picture of a blurry sky that's the exposure is too long if it makes me feel something, and that means so much more to me than an average shot that's technically brilliant.
I mean, it must be difficult to judge, because you've got that criteria to judge on. I guess that if every judge were subjective, you wouldn't get consistency. But there's just times where, Alan Cole's told a brilliant story to me, and he was saying that he had one of his friends who's a really, really good wildlife photographer, and he talked him into entering a photo into a competition. I think it was some foxes or something or another. And the judge went, "This is obviously staged. It's obviously a staged image," and it wasn't. And Alan put his hand up and went, "Actually, I'm not the author, but the author is here, and I can guarantee this was out in the wild." He said, "Oh well, it looks staged." And then there was a guy who'd taken shots of some kind of like amphibian or something in a tank, and he went, "Well, this is clearly done out in the wild in the same competition." And it's just like, what is wrong with judges? Honestly, I've got no time. I've got very little time for camera club judges. I just think that they, like you say, it's all about, is it on the rule of thirds? Is it obeying this rule? Is it obeying that rule? Never mind, it's a fantastic shot, you know? Or the other classic is, well, I've seen a million shots from Iceland, so I'm just going to dismiss this one. What? It doesn't matter if you've seen a million shots from Iceland. You judge the photo on the photo. But, you know, so, yeah, my rant's over. No, not talking about that.
No, I don't blame you. That's why I'm not a member of a camera club, clearly, because those sort of things would wind the hell out of me as well, really. And also, I think it's for the members. If their members are going to go there and want to become a better photographer, all they're going to become is technically, potentially a better photographer, but they're not going to learn those skills of reacting to the light or taking something of atmosphere or mood or something. They're not going to learn it because they're just going to be taught it by the book.
Yeah.
So,
if you want to win camera club competitions, then you need to take a photo of a jester on a chessboard and have some fake clouds and something else in, and then get maybe like a dancing nymph or something in the corner, because they love that like fantasy composite photography. They love it. They absolutely love it. So that's it. I'm not dressing up as a nymph, by the way. If you want to
again,
good to know.
Not going there.
I will.
Right. I'll take a photo. Maybe an infrared. Do you see what I did there?
God.
Do you see what I did there?
Seamless.
I know. So let's move on to another photography topic, which is infrared photography. Now, this was you, Sam. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I just thought it might be an interesting topic of discussion just to find out what your guys' thoughts on it are, because obviously infrared is becoming quite a popular topic at the moment, and quite a few YouTubers have been doing quite a lot of infrared photography. My personal take is
one has, and one jumps on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Oh, no, I thought it was a massive coincidence that Thomas Heaton did an infrared, and then there's 50,000 infrared. I thought, that's not linked, is it? Is that linked?
It's the time of the year for infrared. It's like autumn, winter, spring. We're in the infrared season. I thought
it was Infrared Day, National Take Infrared Photos Day or something. I didn't realise it was simply because someone who gets millions of views had done it and it proved popular. No, come on, it can't be that. Mine's out next week.
But I guess I was interested to hear what you guys thought of it, whether it's something you'd ever consider doing, or whether it's just something that you have no interest in whatsoever. My personal take is it's not something that interests me in the slightest bit whatsoever.
Well, I've got an infrared camera.
Oh, okay.
You've just got that one back, have you?
I've just got it back. Yeah. I got it back last week. No, I had an old 600D, and I took it to Wex years ago. I think when I first bought when I went over to Sony, or it might have been I got the 5D. I can't remember. Anyway, they offered me like 50 quid for it, and I thought, I'm not getting rid of it for 50 quid. And it sat on the shelf, and James Bellings, who kind of most of us know, and if we don't know him personally, we follow him on Twitter and stuff. And James has had an infrared camera. He got a Sony converted, and so about 2 years ago I thought, that 600D that's just collecting dust, I'll go and get that converted, which I did. And it's not something that I would want to do on a regular basis, but it's a lot of fun, especially if when you have got summer and it's nothing but kind of blue skies, and it's obviously the days are extremely long, so unless you want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or even earlier than that sometimes, to go and catch sunrise, then you can go out at 10 o'clock in the morning or midday, when the sun's really high, and shoot some infrared. And I thought it was great fun. But that's as far as it goes for me. Just a bit of fun every now and again,
Yeah. I think if it's done really well.
Yeah.
So I've seen Neil Burnell. Is it Neil Burnell ETH now? Anyway, Neil Burnell has taken some amazing infrared shots. Yeah. Really, really good. So if it's really well done, then the same with all photography, I guess. If it's done well, it looks amazing. But I think that maybe you got to have an interest in it. Maybe if you're just doing it for something else, you might not get those results that you're hoping for, possibly.
I think, to be fair to Tom, when he released that video about it, and he did that because he wanted, as you said, Daz, he wanted to use the summer periods to do photography where generally we can't do it because the light's too harsh, or the conditions aren't right. And he, as you said, he created some really stunning shots. I must admit, they were really nice. A couple of those shots, I'm sure, probably feature in his portfolio because they were really lovely shots. And I guess it's a bit like ICM in a way. It's one of those things that you just do, or it's fun to do, and it can create some really creative pictures and a little bit original. But you won't want to do it all the time. It's something just to fill a gap, or to, if you're a bit bored and you fancy something different. I've never done it, if I'm honest. And I don't think I'm really motivated to do it. But at the same point, if I had an infrared camera and the conditions were right in the summer and go out and take a shot, then why not?
Yeah. I guess for me, it's kind of, I've sort of seen it as being kind of a little bit of a gimmick. But then, as you say, I've seen Neil's images that he's taken, and some of Tom's images as well were really, really nice images, stunning images. It's just one of those things where for me it's just I can't really see myself ever getting into it, and it sort of feels almost like a sort of Photoshop filter type thing on the images. They just look a little bit artificial a lot of the time. So it's just something that for me personally doesn't appeal. But I can completely understand why people would do it, and having said that, some of the images I've seen of people doing it are stunning. The one thing which I would have thought it might be quite useful for, and maybe this is more sort of infrared goggles and that sort of thing, is wildlife, because I wonder whether it's useful as a tool for actually finding wildlife. I know Hannah's spoken to me in the past about getting infrared binoculars to sort of spot hares in the fields and things like that, because often you can't see them without it. And I was wondering, maybe it would help there. But
another thing it's really useful is views.
Well, that's not something I know much about. So.
Views, lots of views on YouTube apparently, but only if you're Anyway, I think we've done infrared. Are we good? Are we done? I'm gonna. What time are we at? Okay, so I think I'm gonna throw one in here that's not.
Yeah, listen, I've got to say, sorry, just before we move on, I'm working with two guys at the moment. One's from Brazil, and one's from Spain, and one's called Sam, and the other one's called Miguel. Yeah, I thought that was so cool. San Miguel.
This is a Peroni. I thought it was a San Miguel.
No, that's the reason, because I'm drinking San Miguel, and I just thought, San Miguel. I'm easily pleased.
I don't know what to say about that. Well done. Listen, I think we should throw in something non-photography now, because otherwise it's just going to be all photography. Now, Darren, you asked a really interesting question, and we've had no time to prepare for this because I didn't say I was going to throw it in. If you could be an inanimate object for a year, this was you, Daz. If you could be an inanimate object for a year, what inanimate object would you be? So you can go first, Daz, if you want, seeing as it was.
Yeah, but I ain't got an answer. What? Listen, sometimes you all moan and say, "Oh, no one's putting nothing on the topic group." So I just at 4 o'clock in the morning, I just fire off a load of old crap, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But you have to tell us because I've got nothing prepared. What would I be?
Yeah, what would you be? Has anyone got anything prepared?
No.
I think
you have clearly, because you've.
I think a mirror. I think I'd be a mirror.
A mirror.
That's a really good answer. Yeah.
Because he's had time to prepare. That's why it's a good answer.
Actually, I thought about it when you first mentioned it. I didn't go. I wasn't going to throw it in, but I thought we were getting a bit photography heavy. So, yeah, I think it'd be a mirror, because not necessarily. I don't mean it in any type of way other than it'd be really interesting to see people's real selves, because if they're alone with a mirror, you see them. You don't see what the facade that they or the mask that they give to everyone else in public. You see who they really are. So I'm not talking about with no clothes on. I'm just talking about facial expressions, by the way, and them being themselves. So I think I'd be a mirror for a year.
Not a bathroom mirror.
Not a bathroom mirror, no. Sort of like maybe a downstairs mirror in a house that gets used a lot by a lot of different people, and just for those one-off moments where they're on their own and you actually get to see who they are.
Yeah.
You've all got to think of one.
Well, I was just thinking, my initial thought was maybe like a turnstile in an airport or something like that, so that there's so many people. But your sort of comment about being a mirror downstairs in the house, maybe I'd want to be a house door in like a really old house, so that you get to see everyone that's come in and out of the house. And actually, someone rang our doorbell. Someone rang our doorbell during the Pubcast, but someone rang our doorbell a few weeks ago, and it was this old guy, and it turned out he'd actually been born in this house, and he was just ringing the doorbell because he wanted a cutting from one of the plants in the garden, and it was so nice to sort of think of the sort of history of the house, and think that someone, he was probably in his 80s. Was born here and grew up here, and maybe being an inanimate object as part of an old house would be interesting.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I'd like to be. I've got one now. I'd like to be a big ugly rock in front of a beautiful vista, and I could see how many people come and took a photo of me. That would be cool. I'd like that.
And every time they're just about to press the shutter, you can sort of go, Like that. Just lift it up above the rock.
Yeah.
Or just shake slightly so that you end up blurred in their images.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jamie,
No, I've got nothing.
would you be the third cheeky girl?
No. Maybe I'll be a Canon R5. Don't know why,
That's a good answer.
but at least I could experience what it's like, and then I might decide not to buy one. I don't know. I'm
You could be a
making shit
Canon
up.
You could be a Canon R6 and be handled by James all day.
No. Maybe I'll be a tree. There you go. I love trees. I'll be a tree and enjoy myself forever in a forest.
Whereabouts would you be? Where would you be?
Where would I be?
Yeah, what forest would you be in?
I guess it can't be around here, can it? It's got to be one that's pretty elevated. So one of those trees maybe at the lakes where it's elevated and looking down over the valleys.
Well, it's all bent over where it's been.
Yeah, and old like those ones that blow over to the.
You want to be a bent
side.
over tree?
Yeah, I'll be a bent over tree. Yeah, and I'll have ponies come and shit underneath me and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Birds land on you in your hair.
And yeah. So why do you ask a stupid question?
Well, Daz asked it, essentially. It wasn't me.
Yeah, but I also asked something like, would you, if you had to wear short shorts and leg warmers for a year,
Yeah.
or I don't know,
think it was
braces
sumo
and
pants. I
brogues,
think it
or
was
sumo pants and brogues for a year, which one would you choose? Don't
Short
take
shorts
any
and leg
notice. Short shorts and leg
Here's
warmers.
one. Here's one actually. Right. Here's one that someone asked my daughter's boyfriend. It's would you rather fight a venomous snake once a year, or a chicken every time you have to get into a car?
I'll be the chicken every day. That sounds great fun.
But every time you get in a car, you got to fight a chicken.
It'd soon get fed up though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I sit in my van,
The same chicken.
like, 3 or 4 times a day, just having a sandwich or getting. So that means I'd be driving to work, getting and driving home, plus all this. So I'd be fighting a chicken about 6 to 8 times a day.
Yeah. But think of the meals you could have.
What have you got to kill the chicken?
What
Well, you have to
what's
fight
it going
to
to
the
do?
death.
Yeah. What's it going to do? It's not going to give up, is it? And cluck off. It's you got to kill it. You got to kill.
And what was the other option?
Why
A
do you have to
venomous
kill it?
snake.
A venomous snake once a year,
Oh, I think I'd go for the snake.
but then it could kill
Oh,
you.
I couldn't be
You get it
asked.
wrong.
Man, I couldn't be asked fighting a chicken 8 times a day. Seriously, I'd be worn out. Yeah, no, venomous snake, mate. Yeah.
Well, it's a workout. Isn't it Rocky where he has to catch chickens?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your daily workout.
Yeah. And my question was, where is the chicken? Like, is it waiting for you in the car, or does it just come along as soon as you're about to jump in? Could you outrun it? Could you sneak out at night when it's not looking or something?
Well, you just shoot it, wouldn't you? Before you get up to the car, you just spot it and shoot the bloody thing, and then you just drive off.
What, I've just popped to McDonald's. I've just
Yeah.
had me burger. I'm just
Yeah,
getting
we
back
always
in the
take
car.
your gun out wherever you
Take
go.
your gun to McDonald's with you.
Oh, hang on,
Yeah.
we're going a bit off road here. We're going to go off road now. Do you want to tell everyone how pleased you was when you went to the photography show and had that delicious burger, that very good good value for money burger?
Talk to me about that.
Do you know what? Like, the thing is, right, what happened? So we went to the photography show, as we've already mentioned, and me and Jay, we kind of got this. It was quite a nice sausage, a little bit overpriced, but never mind. It's nice
A
sausage,
little
nice
bit,
roll, right?
A little bit.
But you said, have you seen how much they're charging for a burger? That's ridiculous. And then you went off, and then you came back without buying anything, and then you went, and they're charging £6.50 for chips as well. This is ridiculous. Then you came back with chips and a burger and did not stop bitching about it for the rest of the show.
Okay, so I didn't do my research. So basically, I saw that the burger was whatever, and it did say something like gourmet burger, right? To be fair, it said gourmet burger, right? So I'm thinking, all right, so it's quite expensive, but it's a gourmet burger, so it should be good. It's the worst. It's the worst. £8.50. £8. No, wait. Yes, no. £8.50.
It was £8.
Well, no. Well, my burger was £8.50. £7.50.
Cheese.
£7.50 for a normal burger. £8.50 for a cheeseburger. £1 for a slice of fake cheese. £6 for the chips and £2 for the drink. So it cost me £16. It cost me more than the ticket to get in.
And then we went to the pub afterwards and we bought, was it 3 beers and 3
beers and some crisps?
2 bags of crisps.
Same price.
And that was £16.50 as well. Exactly, yeah.
If you are the guy who runs that burger stall, you should hang your head in shame, mate. Because
you actually thought, didn't you? Should I start vlogging? At that point, you actually said, you even got the camera out. You was that incensed.
I've got video footage of that burger stall.
But that guy who runs that stall, he only works once a year. All he has to do is just sell burgers for 4 days at the show.
Once a year, doesn't he?
Don't begrudge him.
No.
Rip-off. Absolute rip-off. £16.50.
Well, I have to say that the sausage
was all right.
was delicious.
It was. Was it a Welsh spicy or something?
Dragon, wasn't it?
Welsh dragon.
It was
Do you know why my burger was classed as gourmet? Because it was in a brioche bun. That was why it was classed as gourmet, yeah. Well, clearly, because the rest of it is like, you know. Do you remember you used to get those tins that you open with a tin opener and you had 4 burgers in them? No, the burgers in the tins.
No.
Do you remember those?
Definitely don't remember that.
During the war, was it rations or something?
This is like when I was a kid. You used to have burgers in tins.
Are you sure this wasn't dog food?
No, it was.
Yeah, your mum saying, "Yeah, I'll just squash this chappy together." Hang on, girl. That'll be fine. We'll throw that up, son. You'll never know the difference.
It could have been. I can't rule it out. No, it definitely used to sell burgers in tins, I'm telling you. And it tasted like one of those burgers. It was minging. It was absolutely minging. Sorry, but it was disgusting, whoever you are working in that, earning that money and ripping people off. It was horrible.
You should have got a Welsh dragon. Right?
I should have. I absolutely should have.
I think you've been spoilt with McDonald's and Burger King. That's why you set your standards too high.
What I should have done is gone outside and gone to the Subway. That's what we should have done. Gone and got a Subway at a normal price instead of being ripped off.
I bet that wasn't a normal price Subway.
No,
anything was better than that burger, mate. I tell you, anything. Absolute rip-off.
Right.
We have gone off track.
We have.
Yeah. I can see what you've done here, Darren. By the way,
what have I done?
You've wound me up about this burger. Because you know that the next topic is clickbait titles, good or bad.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone for a wee because I've kind of, I've given you time to breathe. Yeah. We should have gone straight into that subject.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Clickbait titles, good or bad. Do you want me to start?
Oh, I think you should.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Set the scene.
Clickbait titles are.
This is where we put our feet up, Sam.
No.
You can do whatever you want now, honestly. Because
I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between clickbait titles and titles that lure you into a vlog. So I think if you're doing something like, if something actually genuinely happened and you put a title that you go, I can't believe that happened, or something along those lines, I think that's fine, right? But it's when people go, like for instance, they go, this is the most amazing function on my camera that I never knew was there before. And then when you actually get to the video, it's like pressing the shutter button or something like that. And it's literally just to get views. That's when it's wrong. And can I say pointy? We were talking about this, weren't we? Mm. Have you seen all the thumbnails now where it's got pointy, this bad, this good, this, look at this point here, point, arrow, point. And apparently they do really well. Apparently they do so much better than ones where it's just normal. So literally my next video is going to be called Pointy McPointface. Pointy photography at Pointy Point.
You need to call it, I can't believe I never pointed at this before.
Yeah, exactly. Or what's the point?
What's the point?
Point. I can't believe that I didn't know that ISO existed.
Top 5 things I've never pointed at before.
Yes. Clickbait. Yes. Clickbait titles are fine. Well, titles that lure you in, that get you to watch the video and have a genuine reason are fine. Clickbait, when it's just there and it bears no resemblance to what actually happened, or a very loose resemblance to what actually. Here's one, right? Sorry, I'm going off on one. Here's one. Something terrible. What was it? A tragedy in the Lake District. There was one. A tragedy in the Lake District. And you're like, oh my God, what's happened? Has a forest burnt down, or one of the lakes had the plug pulled out and it's drained, or someone died? No, their car broke down. Their car broke down when they were in the Lake District. That's not a tragedy in the Lake District. That's my car broke down in the Lake District. A tragedy in the Lake District. A death in the Lake District. Or what was it? Oh, it was my big end died. That's not a tragedy. That's just something happened while I was there. If you said something happened to my what they should have done, something happened to my car while I was in the Lake District, people might have gone, oh, I might watch that. A tragedy. A sad day. Can't stand. It just annoys me. Anyway, what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, they don't bother me.
I've got to. I mean, I kind of. They don't really bother me, but I think it reflects badly on the video or the person making the video if you relied too much on clickbait, because ultimately you want people to subscribe, but it might result in more views. But it might just be me, but if I click on something and it's not what I was expecting it to be, then I'm not going to subscribe to the channel probably. So
honestly, you or we are in the minority. We are in the minority.
I'm gonna perhaps change my opinion on this, because when it comes to like photography, it doesn't bother me that much, but I don't watch that much kind of photography YouTube now that it should bother me. But as you guys know, I'm a big kind of boxing fan, and there is one particular channel out there that's probably the biggest YouTube channel to do with boxing by far, and I know that they have to earn their living from it, but they would actually put out real clickbaity titles, but the videos were kind of like, some of them was like a 90 seconds long, two minutes long, and you click on it and the content was so weak, and I got fooled about 20 times from it, and then in the end I just got exhausted. And I used to love this channel, absolutely loved it, and I still watch it, but I unsubscribe from that channel. And now if I see a video that's under, say, 20 minutes long from them, I don't bother watching it anymore. So it can actually have that effect. So I know that you went off on a bit of a roll there, Gal. I know I was like joking along, but thinking about it, yeah, if people do it too much, then I'll just unsubscribe.
Now, there are means to an end there. That's the trouble with clickbait titles, aren't they? Because they don't care whether you unsubscribe or not. It's not necessarily about the subscriptions. It's about getting the views, and it's about getting the algorithm to promote your video to other people. And for whether you like them or hate them, they're part of YouTube, and it's part of what people have to do to get views. If you want to push views because you're monetizing and you want to make money out of it, I totally get your point about them being disingenuous, and it's not right. And anybody with a bit of ethics behind them would probably feel really uncomfortable doing something to get views. But if they're putting themselves out there on YouTube to make money from it, then it's a means to an end. It's a tactic that that unfortunately has to be deployed to be able to get the views, to be able to get the money in for the return that you're looking for. So I
get that. I totally get that, and I do appreciate that. But I just think that, and when you said, Sam, if I see that once or twice or three times, I'll stop watching. We're in the minority. Trust me, we are absolutely in the minority, because the amount of people, there's like a few guys out there, the amount of people who watch them, and I get comments, like, couple of times I've had people say, "Oh, you should like on my snapshot saying you should interview so and so next." I'm like, no way will I ever interview him. Not a cat in hell's chance. But people love it. They lap it up. So it's like obviously a lot of people appreciate it's a game, and they play the game, and they're fine with it. But for me, it's just not something that I would ever. I've got worse. I'm not going to lie. I've got worse. But all of the stuff that I've done has been relevant to the video. You know the worst ones. Do you know the worst ones? These are the worst ones. The end, or I quit, and then in little. I quit my latest trip, and the end of a lovely day. It's like I can't stand those ones either. I just think they're just like. Anyway.
How many views did that video you did that was an idiot ruined my shot get? That got a lot of views, didn't it?
That's my most viewed video.
Yeah,
that's my most viewed video. Yeah, an idiot ruined my shot.
I know it wasn't clickbait because an idiot did ruin your shot, so you were being true. But it's that type of statement on your thumbnail.
Absolutely,
that's going to grab attention.
I actually realised I did a pointy.
Did you?
Yeah, which was idiots are ruining our countryside, and then I did a pointy like a little green pointy going this good. And then a little red pointy going this bad, and that did all right. But
there you go.
I do understand that clickbait titles or those sort of enticing titles are part of the game of YouTube, but I just think that some people go too far, and they like the titles have no bearing at all on the video. They've got no resemblance to what the video is actually portraying, and then it's wrong for me. But it works, and people make money out of it. So what are you going to do?
Well, it's game, isn't it? And you know, for some people who rely on YouTube as their income, or certainly outside of the sort of genre that we're working in, then yeah, absolutely. Then these companies and things need to do it because it's part of the SEO game which they're playing. And I have no problem with them doing that because that's the way the world works. But I think for channels like ours where we're very much catering for a niche, we're not trying to access the whole world. We don't expect millions of views on each of our videos. We're catering for a particular audience, so why would we need to do clickbaity titles? Because there's no point.
For me, I think I'm going to probably get in trouble here again, but for me, people who put clickbait titles on their videos are not bothered about the art, they're bothered about the income. That's how I feel. I don't think you can be a genuine authentic photographer and have loads of clickbaity titles all the time, and everything you do is geared up to make money and to go out and
But also I would sort of defend anyone who's just starting out a channel who goes down that route, because often when you're first starting out, you'll be thinking, well, I'm only getting 2 views to my video, how do I get more? So you'll start watching videos on how to generate more views to your channel, and they'll tell you to use clickbait and have pointy things, and you'll do it because you're desperate to try and get more than 10 views to your video. So I would give anyone who's just starting out, who's doing that sort of thing, the benefit of the doubt, definitely.
I think if you're doing it for a living, if you're a professional, let's say photographers, that's what we're talking about. You're professional photographers, you're doing it for a living, and YouTube is one of your income streams that you need to rely on. I've got no issue with clickbait titles because it's a money earner. You've got to do it. And I think on your point, Gaz, I don't think necessarily that makes them a bad photographer, because they can still be a great photographer, but just use YouTube for what it is and play the game for what it is to make money, and then also go out and take great shots and sell prints.
Yeah, but do you think though that, like, because I have a real thing. I think if you have to rely on that sort of thing, then you you're in the wrong job. You're doing the wrong thing. Because imagine I was a tyre fitter, right? And like going back to talking about flat tyres. Imagine I was a tyre fitter and my shop was here, and every night I went along and stabbed everyone's tyres so they'd come to my shop to earn money and say, well, that's what I need to do to make money. It's not my fault. Well, I mean, it is my fault, but it's just this is my method of making money. I'm going to go and generate a market by stabbing everyone's tyres, so they have to come to me to fit them, you wouldn't go, oh, that's all right then. But for someone to go, well, I need to make money, so therefore I'm going to make a disingenuous title that's got absolutely nothing to do with my video, but it just draws people in to watch. That's like trading standards for me. That's like, well, you're not providing what you're describing. You know, it's like it's you know, you wouldn't go and say, oh, with every tyre fitted, you get a free belly dance, would you? Do you know? No, but you know what I mean. And then the people come and go, oh, you know, get a couple of guys come up and go, where's my belly dance? Oh, I didn't mean you get a free belly dance. I just said that to get you in. I just said that so you could come and have your tyres fitted by me. No, but do you see what I mean? I look at that and I think, well, if you can't earn enough money without offering a fake belly dance, then you're in the wrong job, or you need to do something different. So if you can't make money out of YouTube without doing a fake clickbaity title, then maybe you need to think about what you're doing.
I think it depends how fake it is as well. I think it's marketing at the end of the day, and with all marketing, it's always a little bit sort of disingenuous. It's like sale prices, where actually they just sort of artificially put the price up a couple of weeks before then dropping it back down again and saying it's 25% off. It's how it works. And if you run a tyre shop, then you have one of those blow up inflatable men that does that to try and get people in. It's just trying to get more people in through the door. Although I've never understood why that would get anyone in through the door. I can't stand those inflatable men things,
unless they're belly dancing at the same time.
Well, yeah. Actually, if Gary was doing a belly dance, I'd be there.
I haven't got the bra for it, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd do it. So I don't know. That's just, well, you know me. But the thing is, I'm getting worse, and I'll freely admit that. I'm getting worse. My titles are becoming more clickbaity. My last video was a review of some wireless microphone system.
I've done a review of those mics before.
Yeah, they're good mics actually.
They're very good. Yeah,
they are good.
Yeah.
I've also now got about 3 people messaging me asking me if I want to do a review of some other wireless microphone systems. I don't know whether I was just so good at doing that. Like, does this one work, or is this one good? That one good, or is that one good? Which one's good? So maybe they like that. Maybe they like that style. Maybe it's the fact I put best mics in the world ever, and an amazing secret about these mics that I'll tell you about. Maybe if you stay and watch right to the end.
Well, you could take the next ones, which another company's offering you, then smash your previous ones, and then you can have tragedy.
Yes.
What happened to my mics?
Yes. I have to say though, I do realise that people need to make money, and I do appreciate that if that is their only source of income, then yes, it is kind of legitimate to do everything they can to get that income. But I just think there's a point where you go, do you know what? I'm not. Well, I would come to the point where I'm not sure I could cross that line into absolute like fallacy, into saying, oh, that, like something happened, like making out something happened when it clearly didn't. I think that's that's the line I just don't think I could cross. But I do understand, and I think money's tighter and everyone's trying harder to maybe generate a bit more income. So I do get that. But I think there's a line.
Not everybody's got the same scruples that you've got. That's probably what it is. Some people don't really care.
Well, it might not be scruples. It might just be that I'm too like uptight about it all. It might just be that, because you guys always say to me, like, Daz, you say to me all the time, you've got to play the game. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't understand what your issue is with it. So maybe it's more me and my issues than it is with them. So maybe it's probably for 99% of people, it's perfectly fine to do what they do, and they look at it like it's all part of the game, like marketing and like all big companies do. You know, when you get these celebrities who go on to a talk show, they don't normally just turn up on a talk show. They're normally promoting a book or a tour.
Yeah, they've got something to sell.
Whatever. So, so I kind of get it, but yeah, maybe I just need to like lighten up about it all a bit. Especially as I've got some more reviews coming out soon. So I think that's about everything. That's about everything, isn't it? There's nothing else to say. So we'll be back next week. We should have a full complement next week. I'll tell you what, do us a favour. Let us know if you enjoy this new format in the comments. You know, give us a shout and say, you know, yeah, I liked it. No, I didn't. I mean, we're not going to change it either way around. But let us know whether you liked it. Or if there's anything else you think might improve the podcast. Yes, Darren?
What new format? What's different? I don't understand.
This, you may have noticed we're not recording it on Zoom anymore.
Ah, sorry, right. Right, okay. Right, sorry. Yeah, go
So
on, carry on.
it'll be a different layout, and it will all look different.
Okay.
I mean, drop us a comment if you want to get rid of Darren or anything like that. Find someone else. We'll see if we can find Clickbait guy, bring him in, and then every week will be, you won't believe what we're talking about this week. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Maybe there'll be 6 of us, maybe 5, Daz, next week. But until then, we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.